Big debate. Some say this is national anthem they want, not the one that shall be passed. So they think that this will do it for them. Unfortunately, I cannot say all in favor say aye. I cannot say that, can I?
Well, we could. We can actually. We can actually. That's why we have social media platforms, and I think we're already beginning to get some feedback with regards to that. I think we got something. I'm looking for the name now. There, this feedback from Silvanus Okon, where he says the old new national anthem, is it a new wine in old skin? Come on, let's be serious about nation building rather than this weak approach. Let's have new wine in new wine skin. Oh, that's what he says.
There you go. So Lalo Akande has since joined us, former presidential aide. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Good to see you guys here.
What do you make of this back and forth on this old new national anthem?
Yes, well, I mean, I do understand that it's a decoy. You know, the people in government have the leverage to...
A decoy?
Yes, to do certain things at their whims, you know. So somebody just had a brainwave and thinks that, oh, wow, the whole anthem is better than this. You know, throw it out there. We can do it. Let's get it done. Give them a talking point. You know, get them to focus, you know, to take away their focus from the more important issues. And hey, regularly, Nigerians fall for the bait. We keep talking about it, and then we leave the more important issues. I think that it is really a non-issue. We should move forward and hold the government accountable. How are we sorting the issue of hardship in this country? You know, what has happened to the problem of poverty? The social investment program, is it back on track? You know, what is happening? Are we paying subsidy or not? These are the bigger issues. But guess what? They've managed to divert us again.
No, Mr. Laola Akande, some people will actually disagree with you. They will say what you're doing is downplaying the role of inspiration. When people listen to their national anthem, when it is that they sing their national anthem, there is a sense of pride, there is a sense of can-do that comes with that anthem. And if you were to play that at a national event, say at an international football match, it will surprise you just what effect it can have on players, the spirit of will I say, conquering anything that is in their face. So can we really dismiss and say that this is a distraction going back to a colonial anthem? Is it really is that the kind of distraction that any government should engage in, assuming that were the idea?
But you see, it's working. You know, Marco, the important thing is that the distraction is working. It is a distraction. So you and I now have to talk about whether it is inspiring. And I have to tell you, if you bring me to that top, it is more inspiring than the new now old anthem. It is clearly more inspiring. But guess what? That is not the issue. That is not the issue. Nigeria does not have a problem of personal inspiration. Nigeria has a problem of poverty. We have a problem of economic hardship. Those are the bigger issues. We have a problem of a constitution that that was given to us by the military, and we've had 25 years. Up to today, what have we done about it? Those are the bigger issues. We have to focus on the bigger issues. And I'm telling you, from the benefit of insight, this is a decoy. So and Nigerians are falling for the bait.
We complain about a constitution that was given to us by the military, but we accept a national anthem that was given to us by colonial masters. How does that make any sense?
Well,
confusion breaks the bone.
Well, that's what my colleague is saying about diversionary tactics. You know, I think there are more pressing national issues. We're talking about national anthem, and just a few hours ago, there were security issues, you know, and all that. I think there are more. We should do more on governance. We should do more on revisiting the social investment programs, which will alleviate the poverty situation in the country. I think we can do more.
Yeah, I mean,
this diversionary.
So, but the thing is this. I mean, yes, we'll help both of you, but the way the news also works.
Yes.
There are bigger issues, yes, but this is an issue.
Yes.
So we can't ignore that either.
No, it's a big story for you. It's a breaking news.
No, if we talk about that when it happened, it doesn't take away the fact that the economic issues were still going to come back to all of those things. Because there are processes of lawmaking and things that have happened such that if we gloss over those, wouldn't we have given our own approval to that?
I agree with you, Chamberlain.
All of those issues, I mean...
I didn't like the way and manner it was tossed on us. I mean, for a very important part of the nation, which would have reflected on identity, I think that the public should have been given a chance to contribute whether we want it or not. And not doing that is not good for transparent governance. And the endorsement of the National Assembly is also, I heard the Senate President saying, well, you know, this is your place. You came to greet us. You know, you don't need the parliamentarians and the National Assembly shouldn't be seen as trying to endorse everything the executive arm has done. They play the role of a watchdog. So you're absolutely right. We're not saying it shouldn't be discussed and all that. We're saying, but there are better issues that should get attention of government and governance.
And I think, to draw on Chairman's question, I think essentially what he's saying is that isn't this symptomatic of everything that is wrong? Because if we say that, you know, we're looking at 25 years of democracy, which was what the National Assembly said they were trying to celebrate or mark yesterday, depending on what term we decide to go with. And, you know, there are certain principles that go with democracy. Separation of powers, for instance, the independence of the National Assembly, etc., lawmaking processes. And some of these things have been subverted or, you know, ignored or glossed over in the process of trying to even do something as simple as changing the national anthem, as distracting. Look for Mr. Akande's words, as changing the national anthem. You know, isn't it symptomatic of what really is wrong and what we really need to be reflecting about 25 years down the line?
Yeah, it's clearly symptomatic, and you're very right on that point. It takes us away from the more important issues, and it also reflects the fact that the way we relate both the government and the people is basically on an ad hoc basis. You don't get a sense that there is an ongoing effective engagement. Now, we must concede, I must concede, that this president has been more engaging, more responsive, even when you disagree with him. But you still have a situation where we don't have an effective engagement with the people, which is why, for instance, they could just go and do a new law without having a public hearing. And then there's a debate, oh, we don't have to do public hearing, we have to do public hearing. The important thing about the public hearing is that is one of the things that demonstrates the democratic nature of the process of lawmaking. I mean, it's not that you have to do what they say at the public hearing. You are the guys that have been voted to make the law, but because you are Democrats and you understand that power resides with the people, you take everything to them. You give a view, you know, a perception that it is about the people, because it ought to always be about the people. So you're right.
Because the other day we spoke about what former President Obasanjo tried to talk about. How he thinks adopting this Western liberal democracy may not have suited us because theirs was a product of their history, their culture, their way of life. And he thought that worked for them. But over here, we needed to have a second look. And at the time when we spoke about it, the prof was trying to talk to us about how systems of government do not necessarily directly correlate or guarantee development. Above all else, development. So, and those conversations ran through, and so getting a critical mass, if this is perhaps a platform, or maybe play their own game, bait and switch. So if you get a critical mass of Nigerians agreeing on one thing, and then you bring in the fact that, look, we need to build a country here. So if we're talking about democracy, you can't force certain things on people. People's voices have to be heard. So that could also play out.
I mean, absolutely. I agree with you. If you are a government that wants to be seen to be transparent, a government that wants to be seen as people-centered, this is what to do. You don't make decisions in your bedroom and just come out and put it on a whole nation. You know, I think there's a need for this government to toe the line of absolute transparency and the willingness to carry the people along. And that brings me to the fact that I was thinking the other day, looking at the scores of the president, the scorecard of the president on issues around human rights issues. And I don't think he's done absolutely very well in the area of human rights. Yes, there's you give people the opportunity to say whatever they want to say, and you sit back and say, oh, well, Jake said one thing, I didn't go to arrest him. That's not human. Human rights has values. Human rights has that the government ability to protect the rights and privileges of the common man and giving them the opportunity to air their views without any form of intimidation.
And speaking of which, Lalu, this for you. So, democracy, rights issues. We've seen journalists abducted, journalists arrested. It's supposed to be a democracy. So now, if they did national anthem, I thought we won't talk about it. You see, we'll dovetail all these issues connect. So if we're talking about the democracy, and then you're doing the same things that a military government would do under a democratic toga, what then is the major difference here if the people's voices are not being heard?
Yeah, and that's a very touchy issue, I mean, for all of us journalists. And it's quite sad that you even have a record under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of this kind of harassment and abduction of journalists. You know, and the worst that I have seen is the case of Mr. Segun Olatunji, who was practically abducted. His wife was abducted. He was adopted, you know, Gestapo style. He was put inside a prison in the dungeon for 2 weeks, hands and legs chained. It's ridiculous that it happened under the watch of President Bola Ahmed. I believe that he himself will be very sorry about that. And we haven't seen any consequence of that. We haven't seen any accountability. Why did the DIA arrest that young man? And what is the accountability? What did he do? Where are the charges that were preferred against him? The matter is not even in court. I mean, nobody said anything. The way he was arrested, the way he was released, Gestapo. Ridiculous that it happened under the watch of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
So if we're talking about democracy, does it mean that people cannot speak freely again? I'm not talking about violating laws, because there are rules of engagement, rules of speech. It's not absolute freedom. Of course, there are certain things because people have rights. You cannot violate other people's rights. But shouldn't we be able to speak freely as a society, as a country? If we couldn't, in fact, people still did during the military era. And then they did, well, whatever the consequences. So if we're talking about a democracy, I know maybe June 12th is Democracy Day.
Yeah.
So maybe that will be in the burner at the time. So these are issues that stick out now. Maybe as we assess the 1 year on of this government, these issues can't go away.
Well, Chamberlain, you've asked the question and you provided the answer. It's true. In a sane society, in a democratic society, in a society that respects rule of law, everyone has a right to air his or her opinion, you know, without any form of harassment. It's on record that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the same journalists that are complaining about what is being done to them today are the people that made you. They gave him all the support. They mirrored his values. They promoted his ideals. They built up his image. And for him to sit and watch this kind of thing happen to them is uncalled for. And he should be doing better and ask his people to do much more better. Nobody should be harassed. Nobody should be stopped from saying what he wants to say, as long as it's said respectfully and responsibly.
Lalu, help us with this. While you were in government, excuse me, how did they get feedback from people? I know the government always have their programs lined up. This is my 1 year, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to proceed. Is there usually room for feedback in terms of how people actually feel? Because chances are, once you're locked in with your program, you will roll it out no matter what else happens.
Yeah, well, of course, there are channels, you know, of feedback, you know, and it varies from government to government. Now, I'll talk about the more, you know, public ones. So under President Obasanjo, for instance, he used to have, I think, maybe on a monthly basis, meet the press kind of stuff. I think President Jonathan maintained the stuff. Now, in the case of President Buhari, I don't think he was really interested in so much of that kind of public accountability. And we haven't seen much of that with President Tinubu. He still has 3 years. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But there are also agencies of government. There are offices. So in the office of the Secretary to the government of the Federation, they have monitoring and evaluation. In the National Planning Office, they have monitoring and evaluation where they go out to get essential feedback. Now, when we were running the social investment program in the office of the Vice President, where I served, between 2016 and 2019. What we did was, by the time we were getting to 2018, 2019, when we had done it for like 2 years, we engaged NGOs who had responsibilities for issues of human development, like Action Aid and a number of them, to actually go out and do an audit, of their own and give us a report, which they did, and we got the report. So there are different ways in which governments can get a feedback from the people.
Ayo, did you feel that Timi Dakolo song when they played?
Well, I don't know which of them you are talking about right now, Chamberlain, but one thing that can be sure is, particularly about, you allow me to go back to that national anthem thing. I saw a clip from a colleague that dates back 4 years, as at 2020, this interview I had with the president as a civilian, if we can call him that at the time, saying that if he had his way, he would change the national anthem to the old one, that is now the new one. So, Mr. Akande, if I would take that to you, where do we situate that? I mean, to some people, yes. A number of people might have thought that it was a strategic diversionary tactic, but then this is something he's been thinking about for a while. What do you think is the intention?
To the extent that we have to discuss it, I will say that yes, I'm also aware that this was something that had been on his mind for a while. And if you look at the speed with which they passed the law, you knew clearly, that this was something that the president wanted to do. And my own issue with it is that, look, this is not the priority. But then, they could do it. They have done it. Now, we are talking about it. We're not talking about other things that we should be talking about. But hey, yes, we have to talk about it. So if you ask me, now that we want to talk about it, I think the wordings of the old anthem, which is now the new anthem, is quite, it appealed even to me, So, it is more reflective of where we are indeed. We don't have a nation, and it talks about it. We want to be a nation, a lot of people are oppressed. We want a nation where no one is oppressed. We just talked about it, so it talks about our aspiration, and I think it's even more melodious, Nigeria, we hail thee. So, personally, I don't see a big deal about it at all. I think that there are more important issues. So I don't want to make a lot of argument about it. And like I said, the president and the National Assembly, they could do it. They have done it.
Well, I think one of the challenges that a number of people may be having with that, is that communication or communicating it was a problem, as with a number of other issues. So, believe me, gentlemen and lady, if there's anything I would want greatly improved, it's engagement with the people, particularly not just from the president or the presidency, but from other people who are nation-loving, patriotic Nigerians, all across the nation. Engagement between government and the people is a problem. We are celebrating 25 years of our democracy, and we are still talking about aspiring to be a nation. So, Dr. Epelle, that question is for you. What's your assessment, and what are we missing in the area of engaging the people productively, constructively, and sustainably? Constructively and sustainably.
Well, Ayo, you've said it. You see, I think any government and any institution that wants to succeed must understand the need for effective communication. Effective, not just effective, but efficient communication. You know, being able to utilize the resources you need to express what you want to do in a timely manner. I think this is what this government needs to pay attention to. If you do the right thing and you do it through the back channel, through the back door, it makes the right thing wrong. I'm very inspired by the old new national anthem. I like it. The centrality of it is service. You know, where we want to serve our father's land. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's everything wrong with it when it's done in a manner that is questionable, a manner that is not transparent, a manner that does not show openness, a manner that shows a group of people making decisions for the generality of Nigerians. And I think that is not acceptable. No matter how good it looks, the pathway to that goodness is faulty. And I think it's something we need to correct. Because if we don't nip this in the bud, other things will happen like that. One day they will make a law and tell you your house and where you live and the water you drink is no longer yours, and that's the end of it.
I think
so we must
way or the other,
speak about it.
Yeah, there are those who say, Dr. Epelle, that that's already happening because there are laws that many Nigerians are held by. They are not even aware of these laws. And I'm still wondering whether there is something missing in not just the lawmaking, but the law communicating process. But let me come to you, Mr. Akande, lastly from my side. Would you say that we over-centralize issues from time to time? The fact, again, I say this because, hey, there are responsibilities across board. We elect the president the same way we elected members of the National Assembly, the same way we elected the local government chairman, the state governor, the members of the House of Assemblies all across the nation. Every one of them has a representative. Every one of them has an assignment, and they represent people far and wide across the nation. But most of the time, we tend to mention the president or the presidency a lot more than we mention these other people who are also drawing from taxpayers' money. Would you say, like some might guess, that we are over-centralizing the issues or the institutions as opposed to those others who have powers assigned to them by the Constitution as well?
Yeah, I mean, very good point, Hayo. Now, the truth of the matter is that the way and manner that we run governance and politics in our country, the president is not only powerful, but is also the single most influential leader in the country. And because of our experience where we had the military regime for a long time, you know, we have acquired a culture of centralizing everything. Now, so right now, we are talking about a situation where the local governments are being completely emasculated to the point that the Attorney General of the Federation, God bless his soul, God bless him, he has gone to court to say that, look, we have to ensure that it is restored. So the point is that, yes, a lot of centralization is in place, and that is one of the reasons why the country is not where it ought to be. Now, I hope that we are beginning to unravel it. And that's why I said that one of the important things that we need to do, the least thing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should do, is to give us a new, true federal constitution.
All right. And just quickly, just before we go, because you just mentioned that today is May the 30th. We understand that the Supreme Court will be delivering judgment, particular suit today, filed by the Attorney General. So it's certainly something. To look forward to. Significant. Maybe that will be another talking point.
Hopefully we get some good news today
from the National Assembly.
Yeah, the autonomy of the local government is very, 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 very vital.
So we'll see about that, gentlemen. Lalo Akande, former presidential aide, and Mr. Jacob Epelle, CEO of South Africa. Thank you both for coming today. I'm looking at Festus's tweet, and he is saying, Nigeria we hail thee is our anointed national anthem. Who anointed it? So you're glad it is back. It doesn't mean that the other pressing issues are being ignored. Like the music you hear in the background, it doesn't mean that one too will be ignored. Because, I mean, people will like it.
Well, I see this one from Shola Dauda, and it says the old and new national anthem. The most important issues in Nigeria's life is more than this, but good governance that will make life simple for an average Nigerian. Things are very tough.
So wait, guys, what if you play this music before the Super Eagles match?
Oh Lord, I can bet that we will win every game.
The opponent will think, whoa.
What are we doing?
These guys, the passion with which they sing this song, I think we need to be careful with this team. Let's see. But if only this kind of things, this music's happen. But I mean, guys,
thank you.
That's the show today. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, guys, thank you, Timmy Dakolo. Well done. So that's it. We'll see you all next time. I'm Chamberlain. What's up? Goodbye.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Ayo.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a wonderful and fabulous day.